Get ready for an enlightening episode tonight. Our guest is the dynamic Alisha Magnus-Louis, Chief Strategy Officer and broadcast producer at the Los Angeles Tribune. Yes, it's a new promotion. It's so exciting. She's going to tell you all about it. Alisha is a visionary leader driving a revolution in media to amplify and celebrate businesses dedicated to positive growth and impact. Her work at the Los Angeles Tribune goes beyond traditional reporting, crafting narratives that inspire action, introspection, and transformation. Please join me in welcoming the incredible Alisha Magnus-Louis. Woohoo!
And there she is. Hello. How are you? It's so nice to see you, Cynthia.
So good, so good, so good. You're so beautiful. I'm so excited to have you. Tell us what inspired you to go into media and business development.
I love that question, Cynthia. I think what's so beautiful about media is through the media, you're empowered to be able to reach a number of different individuals. And at the Los Angeles Tribune in particular, we're all about news that inspires, empowers, uplifts, and motivates. And it was such a unique opportunity for me to come be a part of the Los Angeles Tribune family and the community, because we're really on a mission to change the status quo. We're really on the mission to put more positivity in the world through media and through different forms of content that can really connect with and engage with readers, with viewers, and individuals that are listening to the content that we put out there. So it's just been such a delight. I started a career, I had a career before entertainment, and I just felt like I was helping companies be more successful when I used to work on Wall Street, but I wasn't helping an individual. And so a few years ago, I wrote down in this notebook that I still own, this leather notebook that I got in Italy. And I wrote that my work mission statement was to empower individuals to empower themselves spiritually, emotionally, financially, physically. And I get to do that each and every day with the Los Angeles Tribune.
Hello, Alex. And guess what? She started in Wall Street. You were down there just to pop over to your beginnings before you got to your role at the Los Angeles Tribune. So tell us about that little path.
Yeah, so it's so interesting. I actually started working in finance when I was in high school. And I was working at a bank in asset servicing. And it's so interesting working on Wall Street, working at one of the biggest banks in the world, and really understanding how the financial system drives a lot of economies forward. And it was such an amazing, I look at it as opportunity to learn and grow. And it's actually when I first fell in love with storytelling. And it's kind of unique because back at that time when I was working and meeting with clients, it was my first kind of foray into how companies could position themselves as thought leaders. And so I remember when I first got to a bank, I was a first year analyst. I was writing thought leadership essays and papers that we were publishing on industry trends in the financial world. And I was taking these really, really complex kind of stories around how the economy works, and for our clients, how they were structuring these deals. And I was trying to make those stories resonate with everyday people that were reading them. And so it is not what I expected when I thought, okay, I'm going to be working at a bank, but it was such a unique place. And I actually got to explore my writing. And then later on, when I used to work with clients and I would structure their deals, I really worked hard on taking really complex I used to work in the payments business, right? Really complex kind of movements around the payment system. How can I make that digestible for a client and tell a story? And so even though I was working in finance and I was doing all of the modeling, I was in Excel, crunching the numbers, trying to figure out how we could bring more returns to our clients. For me, I always came back to the story. I always came back to the pitch deck. What are we putting in it? Does it make sense? And how can I make it more simpler for my clients? Because I learned very early on in the kind of space of sales in the finance world that people will not sell what they do not understand. People will not buy what they don't understand, or if they don't understand how it impacts their everyday life or their everyday business. And so it takes kind of a unique skill set to be able to help someone understand what they're doing so that they can engage better. And now I get to just tell stories in a different way.
And you loved it so much, you left that behind so you could go and pursue that gift which you have And then you ended up at the Los Angeles Tribune. Tell us what that entails.
Yeah, so at the Los Angeles Tribune, I am our chief strategy officer. As I mentioned earlier, thank you. The Los Angeles Tribune is all about empowering and uplifting individuals. And we're really unique because we sit at the intersection of personal development, of empowerment, of news, and of innovation. And we're doing what necessarily hasn't been done in the media before. We're really highlighting personal development, highlighting leaders in the personal development space, and highlighting entrepreneurs. And the way to say entrepreneurs are celebrity, those that are entrepreneurs that are contributing to the world, that are helping to heal individuals, that are helping to educate and put more consciousness into the world. Those people are celebrities. And how can we help position them and help them tell their stories? Because when people can learn from them and when they can connect with their audience members in a different way, whether it's a client, an investor, a collaborator, an ambassador, that can really make the difference for a small business and for an everyday entrepreneur.
And your community.
And your community. And
LA and now San Diego.
Yes, so we own the Los Angeles Tribune. We own the San Diego Weekly. We really are creating a space to create community with our editorial content. But we're not just a newspaper company. We have our Los Angeles Tribune podcast network, where we have individuals that have podcasts from all around the world, from Australia to the UK to Singapore, the United States, that are on our network to share their stories. We have our public education division, where we have broadcasts where we come online and we have thought leaders share their stories. We recently had a global neuroscience symposium, and we had Jim Quick come on and join and share his work with Limitless and the brain hacks and share the latest and greatest in advanced neuroscience. We had Dr. Rebecca Granger Ellis, who was the former chair of the Neuroscience Institute at Johns Hopkins. So we really have a lot of public education. We have our Los Angeles Tribune film division, where we're taking thought leadership and taking the understanding of spirituality, of science, of practicality, helping people to explore leadership principles and values, but through film, through exploring issues that are really impacting society through film. And so there's a lot more that you're going to see today, but there's so much that we're doing, but there's a trend here. It's really about how can we impact society? How can we help educate people? And most importantly, how can we put more love and healing into the world? And we really feel like that's missing in the mainstream news and media. And we're being thought leaders in that space and advocates in that space.
Mo is on and he says, hello and wow. How has working under leaders like Mo Rock and Ava V. Manuel shaped your vision for the media? And hi, Mo. Thank you so much for joining us. And
Hi,
Grace and Eric, we'll get back to you, but let's go through this. Mo Rock and Ava and you.
Yeah, I love that question. Mo Rock is a true visionary. He sees what other people did not see, and he's really about impact. And when you think about the Los Angeles Tribune, Mo has figured out how to be the person that he says he is and inspire other leaders to join in that mission. And that's very unique. Someone can talk the talk, but who are they? Mo is a visionary. He inspires leaders around him. He inspires collaboration and, most importantly, innovation. Change the status quo. I mean, that is the mantra at the Los Angeles Tribune. It's about exploring what hasn't been done before and not being afraid to do something different, because it's about the impact. How are we impacting society? How are we uplifting society? And how are we using news as a vehicle to do that? So it's so fantastic to work under Mo. Ava V. Manuel, our editor-in-chief, is another visionary. I mean, it has been said, and I'm going to say it here, Ava's intuition oftentimes is the wisest in the room. I mean, the way that she's able to look at growth and innovation from just a different perspective and not be afraid to allow intuition to guide some of her decisions is beautiful, because it can be very easy to say, let's look at market trends, which is important. Let's look and understand context. But what role is intuition actually going and driving where we haven't been? Because what we're doing is something different. we're going where others before us haven't gone. And so you need a level of faith, grace, understanding, and then of course work to get you there.
And I had the opportunity to hang out with Mo and with Ava, as a matter of fact, at an event in LA a couple years ago, and it was amazing. And they were excellent. And you know what else they do? They care and they follow through. And no job is too small or too big. As they can see, they just keep taking care of you, and you're still in the circle no matter what. So you got to keep on going. And we have a question here from Grace. She is interested. Are there book reviews? You said there was a book section now, right? So are there book reviews in the Tribune, which are disappearing from America's newspapers? And she's interested in a showcase for literature, which is the human story. Can you talk to Grace? Grace is a poet in the Washington, D.C. area. She was most recently the poet laureate for Maryland for 2019 to, I think she just gave up her laureate status. And she is 30 books in and just celebrated her 92nd birthday.
That's amazing, Grace. Thank you so much for tuning in, and thank you for your question. Yes, at the Los Angeles Tribune, we have the Los Angeles Tribune's critically acclaimed bestseller list. And what is so beautiful about our bestseller list is that we truly celebrate books and authors, but we're taking a different stance on bestsellers where we see it as an interactive, community-based experience where readers get to nominate their favorite book for consideration from our critically acclaimed review board to consider the book as a bestseller. And so historically, bestseller books have been driven based on sales. But how do you get sales? You need to have a large marketing budget, or people need to understand who you were before your book came out for it to really be a hit and hit that top 10 on a bestseller list. With our community interactive driven bestseller experience, we're really asking readers to nominate their favorite author because there are so many talented writers out there. There are so many phenomenal stories out there that we believe deserve to get critically acclaimed bestseller recognition, but they may not have the budget to have a big marketing campaign or make it so that 10,000 copies or 20,000 or 30,000 copies of their books were read. It doesn't mean it wasn't an amazing book. And so we really want to more democratize access to the bestseller experience based on culturally relevant content, on content that is informative and educational and really moves the needle. And so our bestseller list is based on cultural relevancy and is based on impact and not just sales.
And she said, good answer.
Okay, I hope that helps. So you can learn more by looking up the LA Tribune, LATribuneBestseller.com for our list and to learn more about the bestseller experience. And for those of you that are tuning in, if there is a book that has changed your life or impacted your life, I highly encourage you to nominate your book. And what's cool is that you can nominate and share why you're nominating, but you can also leave us a video. And if you give us permission, we'll actually share that video with the world so that you also get recognition for nominating your favorite author.
How cool is that, ladies and gentlemen? There you go. Eric has put it up for us. So thank you, thank you, thank you. The Los Angeles Tribune's Business Solution Division is quite innovative. So can you share more about your new goals and impacts now in your new role as Chief Strategic?
Yeah, so I thank you for the question. So our Los Angeles Tribune Business Solutions Division is all about helping our clients with their messaging and visibility. We always say we help you translate your business into dollars. And oftentimes individuals want to be on the news. They want more people to be aware about who they are. But what is their business system set up so that when people learn about them, they can actually translate some of that visibility into clients? And we noticed a trend that there were certain clients where they wanted the visibility, but they didn't have the business kind of systems in place and infrastructure to connect and to convert eyeballs into dollars. And so we built our Business Solutions Division where we have consultants and advisors look at individuals' website. What is their messaging? What is their social media footprint to figure out how we can help them strengthen their messaging to their clients, their potential collaborators, the ambassadors that they're working with. But we actually then took it a step further to say, if you're a business that wants to grow to scale, what systems do you have in place? There are studies that show that businesses grows when they have systems in place to help them manage that growth. And so we have our CRM system that helps our clients connect with their clients. So are you automating your social media? Are you automating your invoices? Are you able to understand your email list? Are you customizing the outreach that you have with your clients? Because that is a big part in how you can connect with clients and also how you can grow to scale and help your business kind of manage itself so you can focus on what it is that you do best.
So, how does your team choose the businesses and stories to feature?
So for business solutions or for the features as well?
How about both?
Okay. So when it comes to features and articles, our team will actually interview business owners to figure out who they are. We'll do our research on the impact that they're making in their community to figure out how we can potentially position them in the news. And so we take an editorial based kind of unbiased process at looking at who they are as a business. When it comes to our business solutions divisions, not all of our clients end up in the news. Some people just need help with their systems. They're like, I have these clients, I'm bringing them in. I don't know how to structure my business to grow to scale. And so we have a division that helps them figure that out. Because at the end of the day, when you think about it, connecting with a client, it's all storytelling, right? And we have experts that understand story and impact and how to connect. And we think that we're moving away from when you're just marketing and talking at somebody. It's how are you creating connection with somebody? How are you understanding them? How are you understanding what's going to make it easy for them to engage with you? And so we've taken our media advisory expertise and our understanding of how to build and connect in relationships and helped our clients up-level their life in that way.
Look, guys, one-stop shopping. If you're in the LA, San Diego area, I would hop onto this immediately, especially if you don't even have a CRM. My goodness. So you're actually teaching people how to use all of the technology.
Yes. And I love that you said that, Cynthia, because we're teaching people. We don't want people to rely on us. We want to teach people how to use the technology that's out there that they can access so that they're not frustrated. Because in interviewing our clients and interviewing individuals that are just entrepreneur, there are so many aspects of business administration and management where people get frustrated and then they give up on their dream. They give up on what got them involved in their business in the first place, which is the impact that they want to have on the world or expressing their creativity in the world. And so we're helping clients understand how to be more effective in kind of managing some of the admin technology aspects of their business so that they can stand in their gifts that they have to give to the world and not be frustrated and spend 80% of their time on aspects of their business that they could automate where they're spending 20% of time on their creativity. Let's flip that. Let's give them an opportunity to be 80% creative and set up proactive systems in place that once they're set up, can work themselves out and be tweaked here and there, but it's really programmatic and systematic so they can be creative. Because when people are in that creative flow, the impact that they have is insane. But when you're frustrated and you're bogged down on the activities that don't necessarily, flow with what it is that you want to do, you can lose that steam to actually pour into what you've been trying to put out in the world to begin with.
And relationship capital. So you have enough people and enough capital in relationships so that you can point them in the right direction. Maybe you should go talk to Alisha about telling your story better, and then you'll fly.
Yeah, there you go, and fly. And we're the Los Angeles Tribune and we own San Diego Weekly, but we have a global community. We work with clients from all around the world, all around the US, and we have a global community that tunes into our programming from all around the world. In the US, in the UK, in Asia, in Africa, in Canada. It really truly is about creating a global community. And the digital space is allowing us to connect with individuals all around the world. And for us, that's so important because that's what true impact is all about.
And this show is coming to you live, and Alisha is in LA, and I'm in the Washington, D.C. area. And you would think we're in the same room just having a cup of tea. How do you believe the media can be used as a catalyst for a positive change in society?
We are a living example of what can happen when individuals come together to spread positivity. We're about leadership and personal development, and we bring on leaders onto our platform like Mark Victor Hansen and Joe Vitale and
Yeah.
Dame Doria Cordova, who's the CEO of Manion, and Guy Kawasaki, who was the chief evangelist of Apple and of now Canva, and Jim Quick. We are bringing thought leaders to the news to share their story. Oftentimes, these speakers have immensely expensive speaking fees if you go to a conference to hear them speak. And we're saying we want this knowledge. We want people in the world to be aware of the principles that they are teaching and sharing with the individuals that interact with them. And so we're bringing these thought leaders to the forefront of the conversation, and we're highlighting their work. We do so much to highlight nonprofit organizations. In fact, just a few weeks ago, we honored an organization called Callisto with the Impact Organization of the Year award. Now, Callisto is a nonprofit organization that uses technology through an app to help survivors of sexual assault. Sexual assault is something that is impacting young children, young girls, young boys, and adults all around the world and all around the country. And oftentimes people talk about it and they just talk. What is the solution? And so what Callisto is doing is they have app technology that after an incident or survivor can actually use the app to write the details of the incident in a time logged report that they is timestamps. They can write the details and then they can choose what they want to do with that information. They have agency over their story versus feeling like they may go to someone that may not believe them, or they can just write it down. And then they also have a matching system so that if individuals indicate an person that has assaulted them and there's a match in the system, they have an entire process to help serve that survivor. Their goal is to end serial sexual assault in the world. And so we honored them with this award because we believe that as media, there is so much that we can do to highlight those that are doing good work in the world. So highlighting the work of nonprofits. And unfortunately, we reached out to Callisto to recognize them with this award, sent them in, reached out to their CEO with their award. And we found out that actually, due to lack of funding, they're closing their doors, right? This is an app that was available for anyone with a .edu email address across the nation. Sexual assault is so rampant on college campuses, but Callisto is an experience where they were lacking funding to continue their operations. Why? Because nonprofits, they don't necessarily get the visibility that maybe celebrities get, where people are talking about what it is that they do. But it's so important for organizations like nonprofit that are doing good to get that recognition, to get that visibility, because they need people to know what they're doing to contribute to their cause. And if people don't know, they can't help. And so these are just a few ways in which media can really bring more positivity to the world, because there are so many people doing good things in the world. There is so much positivity around, but it's about celebrating that. It's about creating awareness of those that are doing something that is contributing to the world and creating space for people to tell those stories. So those are just a few ways that media overall can contribute to positivity, and some of the actions that we at the Los Angeles Tribune are taking. On tomorrow, October 10th, it is World Mental Health Day. There are a number of initiatives in the LA area that the Los Angeles Tribune is contributing to honor those in mental health, creating spaces. There is the Les Brown Power Tour that is happening in Los Angeles from Friday to Sunday, that is having conversations around mental health, bringing in different advocates, mental health specialists to have those conversations. And on Saturday, the Los Angeles Tribune is doing something truly special. We're having an awards gala where we're honoring those in the mental health field with industry impact awards for the work that they are doing in the mental health space, because we believe it's important to recognize those that are doing the work.
And get the word out There's
And
so much.
get the word out.
Goodness. Oh my goodness. Reach out to the Los Angeles Tribune and show them what you have to offer, ladies and gentlemen. We have some great guests on: Eric B. Flournoy, Naza Hazen, Nola, Grace, and others. And put on your little thinking caps. Everyone has an idea, and we can do something together. We can empower. It's beautiful. That was so beautiful, Alisha. And you recently interviewed some other very interesting Bono. Tell us about
Yes.
who's your favorite people that you've interviewed recently. You've been having such a good.
Yes, as you mentioned, so just a few weeks ago, we were with Jane Goodall on her 90th birthday, celebrating the International Day of Peace. Jane Goodall she brought together in the International Day of Peace. There were literally thousands from the community, individuals that flew in from all over to celebrate the Day of Peace. We were at the park in San Pedro, California, and Bono was there. And it was so beautiful. I had the opportunity to interview Bono for him to share about the impact that Jane Goodall has had on his life and what she is doing from an environmental perspective, from a conservation perspective. And also, I think what was so unique about hearing Bono speak about the impact that Jane Goodall has had on his life, and Bono is an activist himself, but what was so beautiful to hear, and I had an opportunity to interview a 6-year-old who was part of Roots and Shoots, which is one of the Jane Goodall's organizations that really works with young children to help them identify, issues in their community and help them find solutions to contribute. And what was so beautiful about being there, interviewing this young woman, was hearing her talk about, recycling and why plastic is not good in the environment. And she was so excited that through Roots and Shoots, she got to learn more about how to keep the environment safe. But she was even more excited that because she was able to learn this information through Roots and Shoots, she could share it with her friends in her community. What was so beautiful about being at the International Day of Peace celebration with Roots and Shoots and the Jane Goodall Institute was that there were individuals that have been following Jane Goodall's work for 15 years, for 20 years, that every time Jane Goodall is in town, they show up, that they're really concerned about the environment. And it shows that Jane Goodall is one woman. Look at the profound impact that she has had on the world. I mean, there are Roots and Shoots organizations across different countries, across the continents, but it started with Jane Goodall's action. It started with her saying, I'm going to do research, I'm going to show up and I'm going to figure out how I can make a change. And then the ripple effects that has. And it shows the ripple effects that when you put a positive action into the world, the ripple effects that can have in society. Look at 30 years later, look at the impact of her work. And it's still continuing. And when you start something, you never know where it's going to go. But it's so important that if spirit, if source, whatever you believe in, puts an idea in you and you feel like, I want to do this, I want to contribute, don't be scared. Just take that action, because you just never know where that action will lead, who it'll inspire, and the ripple effect that it'll have. And that's why positivity has a ripple effect. Negativity has a ripple effect. But the ripple effect of positivity, it can heal the world, it can change the world, it can shift the world, and it can make a better world for tomorrow.
Beautiful. Absolutely. So that really showcases the why behind the businesses and the missions. I was going to say why.
Yeah. No, yeah. I mean, it is the why. I started off a little bit earlier. I told you about, I wrote in a little leather notebook my mission statement for work. And it was to empower individuals to empower themselves economically, spiritually, emotionally, financially, and physically. And this is why we do the work that we do, because imagine the organizations that are doing good in the world. If people can just be aware of what it is that they are doing, imagine the impact. And then what happens when one person meets another person, that ripple effect, That's why we do what we do. And that's why we show up in different mediums, because awareness is important. So maybe someone's not reading the news, but they're listening to podcasts. Well, we have an LA Tribune podcast network where we have individuals talking about spirituality on there, talking about love on there, empowerment. There's dads on the laptop, what it is it's like to be a family person. There's so many stories that are out there. And when someone feels heard and someone feels seen, they have a safer space to just be themselves. And so much of what we do is to give people permission to actually be themselves. And that's why we believe in bringing visibility to spirituality and bringing visibility to the metaphysical world, and not having to separate science with spirituality, with leadership principles. We're all one person, right? And
Right.
so how do we create space for people to have that dialogue, create space for people to have that permission to be themselves? So whether it's a podcast, whether people are on the news, whether people are watching films, Mo is a visionary. Each division that's part of the Los Angeles Tribune community and network is curated and created to meet people where they're at, because we believe that the principles, the impact that the people in our community are doing in this world, we want as many people to know. And to reach people, I always say, and I've heard this from somewhere, it's reach one, you teach one, and you pass it on. So, the more digital mediums that we can be a part of, the more we can spread this goodness and awareness out to the world.
Ah, so good. Don't you all want to go work with her? And Mo and Ava. So what are common mistakes businesses make when they're trying to gain media coverage, and how can they avoid it and really use all the tools that you are offering at the Los Angeles?
Yeah. Who are you and what is your impact? And are you set up to scale? Like, if you're going to get that visibility, are you set up, if you're a service business, are you set up to scale when someone knows about you? And we find that a lot of people want to be in the media, and it's not necessarily, they're like, oh, what is, maybe what is my ROI? And it's, when you want to be in the media and you want people to be more aware about who you are, it's not just, okay, there's an article written about you, I'm not going to do anything about that. We actually provide media strategy and advisory to teach individuals what to do with that content. I'll share this one with everyone. If you have been written up in a publication, or you are on a show, or you wrote something in your blog and you want people to see it, put it in your email signature. That is a place that I feel like oftentimes is so underutilized, right? If you're sending emails every day and there's a piece of content out there that you want people to know about, make it easy to find. And so when we do our media advisory strategy with our businesses, we actually take the time to understand, what are your goals? We're not going to just do a feature to do a feature. We want to do a feature. We want to help, like anything that you're doing, you have to understand, how does this impact my short-term goals and my long-term goals with my business? Because we want the things that you do to be strategic for your strategic growth. We don't want you to just kind of be like, oh, one hit, I just put it out there just to say I checked it off the box. It's, what is your strategy? And how can this serve your strategy of growth? And I think, it's a disconnect. And that's why advisory is a big part of what we do, because we like to educate people on what they can do with the visibility, because it's one thing for people to know about you, but how can you actually translate that into your growth? And we see that as a missing piece. And so, we love to focus on that because it really helps people move the needle. And sometimes it's as simple as, I love this one. I worked with an individual who, he's a multifaceted individual, that he does a lot, right, in his life. But he happens to have a podcast. And so I was like, okay, let's do a fun activity. Let's look at your digital footprint. So we looked at the digital footprint, and I was looking at his Instagram profile. And I was like, excuse me, sir, I have a question for you. Aren't you a host of a podcast? He's like, yeah, I'm a podcast host. I have had, over 20 something episodes. I'm like, that's awesome. I'm like, I don't see it in your profile. I'm like, if I don't know you and I'm not your friend, and I came to your Instagram page and I didn't scroll, I wouldn't know that you have a podcast. You didn't tell me about it. And so that day, in that moment, he just updated his profile. And I smile about it and I kind of laugh. And, for him, one of his goals was to get more visibility for his podcast. But how can people find you if you're not telling them what to look for? how can people find your content if you're not helping guide them? So sometimes it can be something as simple as, if you have a website, are you capturing email addresses so you can connect with your audience after? Do you have a connect with me button? Surprisingly, a lot of people that are coaches, they don't have a connect with me button. And so people may be on their page and not ready to book a consultation meeting with them, but they might want to learn more. So help people connect with you. It could be as simple as adding a button where you get that email address. So now if you're putting out some thought leadership content, maybe once a week, once a month, whatever, the cadence is, you've just made it super easy for you to connect with them at another time. And so for us, it's really about empowering individuals to grow and giving them different strategies depending on what their goals are to kind of help them along the way.
I hope you're writing this down, ladies and gentlemen. Get those tips. And I guess last week, Jim Miller had an idea to start with the end. So if you're starting your little business, what do you envision for the end? Do you envision it going on to your children, passing it down? Do you envision retiring close? Like, you have to have the whole plan from the end to the beginning. Like right now for your life, what do you want to be remembered for? And plan it out. And guess what? You see it, you can do it. And you have all these tools in the world. It's amazing. What advice do you have for businesses looking to amplify their brand through storytelling? Okay, so they don't have it on their Instagram. They don't have their podcast on. How are you going to help them with their storytelling? Because you're an expert.
What is the story that you're trying to tell? So I used to work with tech companies, like, very big tech platforms. And something that I noticed that was so interesting, and it taught me such an important lesson on branding and visibility, is the way that they were talking about the service that they were providing through their technology platform, and the way people were reading about what they were saying, there is a disconnect. And so they were actually turning away individuals that they were their ideal client because they were speaking about their product in technical terms. And the person that was on the other side that was going to be their client doesn't speak in technical terms. They speak in everyday terms. And so I think what is really important for businesses when you're trying to find visibility, what are your goals? What are you trying to do? What is the impact that you have? But don't say it the way you hear or you want to say it. Speak the way your audience connects with you. Because if your goal is to connect with your audience so that they sign up for your service, buy your product, you have to meet them where they are at, not speak at them and say what you want to say. If you're always saying what you want to say and you're not aware of what your community, your audience, your clients are looking for or looking to hear, there's going to be that mismatch. They say there's this term in the tech world that's like product market fit. Like, does the product that I created fit in the market? I like to think about it as a communication market fit. Are the words that I'm saying that are coming out of my mouth, that's a quote from a movie, do people understand what I'm saying? Because if people don't understand what you're saying and they're your ideal client, you're going to miss out on them. So I think that is it's a very simple principle, but oftentimes it gets overlooked. Like, you don't have to have the fanciest systems in place, right? You can think about the systems down the line, but it's like, are you actually connecting? We are in a society with information overload. When you open your phone, you are hit with tons of text messages, emails, notifications every day. As soon as you step outside your house and maybe in your house, you're seeing all of these messages. So people are going to connect with what is easy to connect to. If you have a website and it's confusing, someone may just say, I'm hungry, I'm going to go get something to eat. This is like too much. There are so many subtleties, right? The psychology of how people engage with information, engage with colors. I think we're going into a world where the subtleties are going to make all the difference. It's not what you're saying, it's how you're making people feel, because words have energy, words have emotion. And I think businesses should just be aware of that, especially when we're in the age of options, right? You want people to opt into what you're doing, not feel like they're opting out. And so these are just things that you can think about, right? Very, very subtle, but they make a difference, especially in a space of choices, because that's where we're at right now.
Clarity.
Clarity's key.
Clarity. And then
clear communication. Clarity wins,
Saturate your people, let them know what you're doing, who you are, what you stand for, and then listen to the responses. People will tell you.
Yeah. And like, I think it's in with communication that, everyone has different communication styles. So like you might have this idea in your head and you want people to get that idea. And that's great, especially when you're an innovator, but also listen, also take feedback, also be adaptable. Like you might have an idea and maybe it's not working and it doesn't mean you shouldn't be doing what you're doing right now. It might just be changing 3 words or like, you have a product and changing an aspect of it. But I think like those that are able to be adaptable, those that are able to be flexible, and those that are able to understand what communication is and what it can do are going to be the individuals that win, because life changes every day and life. So we don't know what's going to ultimately happen tomorrow, in a month, in 5 years. But can we learn quickly? Can we be adaptable? Can we be not afraid to try and to innovate? And can we be open to feedback and coaching? I mean, the greatest of the greats, the biggest leaders, they have coaches. The role of mentorship is so huge. So like, be open to learning, be open to feedback, be open to having a mentor or someone to guide you through what you don't know, or even if you know someone to help you up level to that next level.
Yeah, and be a team player, because you need to elevate yourself and elevate our world, because everything you do in kindness and good will come back to you.
Energy reads energy. What you put out there comes back to you. So you want to be negative? You want to be positive, right? Energy reads energy. And I think that's just something that's really important to be, to be aware of. And I think most importantly, I think for entrepreneurs, and something that we see a lot is create the space to remember how to tune into you. I think when you have a lot going on, and this is for entrepreneurs, but this is for everyone, life's right. There's always going to be experiences that individuals go through. But what are you doing to pour into yourself so that when you're showing up in the world, you can give to others, right? So in your business, it's so important to service your clients, to invest on your products that you're selling to the world. But how are you investing in your internal health, right, of the business, right? How are you, making sure that you're replenishing what the business needs so that the business can show up the best way it can for the world? I think, especially in service-based businesses, you want to think about the client, put the client first, and that's so important. But also remember to think about yourself, right? Because when you have more within, you can give more. And it can just be as simple as, you're helping your clients get wins every week. Reflect, have gratitude for what it is that you get to do every day, right? That's energy, right? And having the gratitude for what you get to do every day pours out into how you show up for the others around you. So it's just like simple things like that. Like I think life, what we apply to energy for our own lives, I think we can apply to our businesses. And I think like business consciousness is going to be something that's going to be a thing, right? I think it's going to be something that businesses think about. Like my business can be a conscious business. How can I bring more consciousness to my business so I can impact the world? Dr. Amit Goswami, he was one of the most fascinating interviews I think I've done. You asked me this question a little bit earlier, and he talked about this concept of quantum activism. And it's, he teaches businesses how to be more aware energetically to what they're doing, leaders to be more aware. But he had this concept, and I was fascinated about it. I kept asking him questions like, what really is quantum activism? But it was this concept of the more inner work that you do, the more that reflects outwardly. So everyone that takes like an intentional role rather in understanding themselves, their consciousness, their energy, and grounding themselves, people feel that energy. There's that ripple effect. So the more that you work internally, the more that you're actually working to contribute to the world. So it's a very interesting concept because, we're all connected and we're all related.
And you've worked very hard to become the magnificent woman that we see before us.
Thank you. I have to say, I do like to ground myself in the morning. I think for any of us, when you're out in the world, there's a lot that's happening. So in the morning, I love to wake up early and I like to meditate in the morning. Even if it's 10 minutes, even if it was 20 minutes, this morning it was like 13. I remember because I was doing a pre-recorded segment. But I love to meditate in the morning. I love to journal. I'm a spiritual person, so I love to just connect with source. And it's just a way to stay grounded in the morning. And, for me, that's what I like to do. I like to go on walks. For different people, it's going to be different. But for me, I take an intentional approach to my mornings because I know how I start my morning sets the tone for the day. And so I try to just carve out that quiet time before the day can get busy, can get hectic, to just tune into me. I give myself that space and my grace to think through my thoughts, and then I get to show up in the world. And so I think it's different for everyone, but I found that, as I've gone into more of these grounding practices, it just has felt good. It just feels nice.
Yes. Then you get to attack your day in a beautiful, calm, meditative way where you can bring your highest good to others and help them find their highest goods. How do you manage to keep a focus on positivity and impact in such a fast-paced media industry?
I love that question. I think it's day by day. I think lives. And I think it's important to acknowledge what is going on in the world in various parts of the world, but also to understand that there is positivity to be shared too. So, it's kind of like when you manage your emotions, they say, don't stuff it away, right? Don't act like something didn't happen. You have to feel the emotion. The only way out is through, right? Feel it
Mm-hmm.
and then move on, and don't sit in it. And so I think that's why it's so important to balance what is going on in the world. I think people need to be informed, but I think it's important to be very intentional about being positive. And it can be easy to not be positive or look the other way. But I think that's when it goes back to impact. At the Los Angeles Tribune, we're about impact, about inspiration. And that's why it's important to have missions and to have values and to have guiding principles, because no matter what is going on, you can use those as your anchor, right? You can say, that is my principle. No matter what's going on, I have that anchor. That is a principle. And I think that's where you used the word earlier, but it was community. I think that's why it's important to have community. It's important to just be aware, but also remember why we're here. I think everyone's here for a different reason. I think we are here to shift and change the status quo. And so that keeps us moving.
Can you speak about the challenges you face when you're pushing for stories that might not fit the mainstream narratives?
I think that it's important to understand that it's okay to not fit in. Like, I think oftentimes we want to fit in so bad, and it's like, why? We don't have to fit in. I think it's the same when you are a person that's trying to figure out who you are, and you get to this point where you realize, like, I don't have to be anyone else but me. And so I think that when it comes to fitting in, the only kind of person that we should be comparing ourselves is ourselves, because only we know what our mission was. So we know what was instilled in us and the impact that we want to have. And so I think if you don't sit in comparison, but you go back to your vision, your mission, your guiding principles, it allows you to just do what it is that we're here to do and not really think about what we're not here to do. And so, yeah.
What future projects or initiatives are you most excited about in your new role now at the Los Angeles Tribune?
So I'm really, really excited about Los Angeles Tribune's films. I think that films are such an interesting way to connect with individuals. There's this concept of edutainment, education, and entertainment. And I'm really excited for our film division. We're working on a film right now. We're actually filming. We're in filming right now. We've been filming today. And we're working with Marie Diamond.
Yeah, cool.
And so it's just exciting Los Angeles Tribune films, because the stories that we're going to tell, the impact that we know that we're going to have, Mo Rock is a visionary. The Los Angeles Tribune Films Division is led by Donna Campbell, Mo Rock, and others on the Los Angeles Tribune team. And it's really about bringing personal development, empowerment to the mainstream. And we're very, very excited about our film division, because we know that we're doing something unique. We know that we're doing something special. And we know that we have a authentic leadership team that is driving the vision, because it's important to have principle-based leaders that are driving the vision of films. And so I'm so excited about what we get to accomplish with the film division, the projects that we have underway. I can't talk about all of them, but we're really looking to highlight and bring awareness to concepts, principles, things that are happening in the world that we believe people should be aware about, but also bring solutions. Like I think you're gonna see some really, really interesting stories that are gonna be told with leaders that are really making a difference in the world. And we're just delighted that through film, we get to share those stories and reach a variety of different people from all around the world.
Do you have your own film crew and everything set up and all the equipment?
Yeah, today we were shooting. I'll send you some behind the scenes shots of our team today. But and then you asked me about being the chief strategy officer at the Los Angeles Tribune. We are growing, we are scaling fast, and it's really important to really be coordinated around the mission. And so my goal is really to drive our strategic partnerships and help people understand the vision of the Los Angeles Tribune and bring more awareness to the work that we are doing. I mean, I've said it before, I'll say it again. You've heard it before, you hear it again. You know this individual, but Mo Rock is a visionary leader. He walks that walk, he talks the talk. And so there are so many exciting initiatives that we have underway, and it's just an honor really to be a part of the team. And I think I've mentioned to you in the past, and I haven't said it on here yet, but it's so beautiful to be able to have an impact and have fun in what I do, right? Like there was a point in time in my life when I was working and I was making a bottom line impact, a number impact. I just didn't have the joy, but it's so beautiful to see the impact. I'll share this story because it's one that still makes me smile. In May, we had LA Leadership Week, where we brought leaders together from all different industries to talk about leadership principles. I mean, we had Russell Brunson on, Tai Lopez, Dr. Robert Cialdini on, Guy Kawasaki on, Joe Vitale joined us, Dame Doria Cordova joined us. We had so many leaders on, and it was 7 days. We had Ray Mercer on, Dr. Khalila Ali, legends in the boxing field. We had individuals in entertainment, and it was 7 days dedicated to leadership principles. And so for 7 days, we had programming where individuals were coming in, sharing their expertise, talking about leadership, but not just this is what I do in the office space, but leadership starts within. So they were sharing their practices that contribute to how they show up in the world. And it was such an impactful 7 days, but it was so beautiful. I remember meeting someone back in April, and I invited him and said, we're having LA Leadership Week. I highly encourage you just to tune in. And so this individual, they tuned in and they said, wow, they're an author, and they had a nonfiction book. And they said, I have a nonfiction book. I really love my book, but I was hearing we had an authors panel. I was hearing about authors in the nonfiction space and talking about their books and the impact that their books have had on people's lives. And they said, attending LA Leadership Week inspired me to write my book. Ooh. And they write my next book. And they're like, as soon as LA Leadership was done, I started working on the manuscript. That was in May. 2.5 weeks ago, I was talking to this individual. I reached out to catch up and see how they were doing. Their book comes out this month.
Woohoo!
They were inspired by hearing the speakers on LA Leadership Week tell their stories, particularly the authors that have nonfiction books, so much that it inspired them to write their book. And that's when I go back to that ripple effect that I was talking about earlier. You never know how a word, a gem shared of inspiration can impact someone's life. They heard someone say something during LA Leadership Week that inspired them to write their nonfiction book. Their book is coming out this month, and I know that their book is going to inspire all of the people that they read it, and what is going to be the ripple effect of that action. And so it's just beautiful when you put positivity out in that world. It's like that energy, right? This is free programming, 7 days of leaders from all around the world tuning in, but look at the impact. And that is just one example of many that we've heard from people that have tuned into our programming. That's what it's about.
So fabulous. And doesn't that make you want to never miss another meeting that comes from the Los Angeles Tribune?
Watch the replays. You can find us on social media platforms. You can find our content on our Facebook pages, our YouTube pages. But it's really beautiful. And I think another thing is that we inspire raw and authentic stories. Like we just had a neuroscience symposium on that I mentioned a little bit earlier in the program. But people were talking about, it was beautiful because we had practitioners, we had neuroscience scientists on, and then we had people that have gone through trauma and they went down their own exploration of neuroscience and the brain and how the brain reacts to learn a little bit more about themselves and go down their own healing journey. And we shared all of those perspectives because it's important to kind of learn the latest and greatest science. We had metaphysical practitioners talk about energy work and frequencies and resonance and how that has an impact on the body. And then we had everyday people sharing their stories of how you're not just hearing this information, but you're hearing from people that have consumed it and applied it in their own life. And that's what also moves the needle forward. So that like realness, that rawness, that authenticity, and people sharing their stories, like it makes a difference. And that's what we're here to do.
And we have new authors that you can add to your list. We have Dan Altmeyer on, who just wrote a book that I wish I had when I was taking care of my dad as he got older. We had Jim Miller on. We have Susie McIntyre, who's a wonderful person in connecting celebrities with other ways to get their word out through conventions, etc. And shout out to Eric B. Flournoy, who does a podcast every single day. You guys are amazing. Keep going, keep going, keep going, and reach out to Alisha. Lastly, what's next for you in the Los Angeles Tribune's mission to inspire, educate, and empower?
So, I mean, the Los Angeles Tribune is truly special, through powerful digital storytelling, broadcasts that elevate mindsets, books that educate, and media coverage that position brands for growth, and business solutions that fortify client engagement, and films that inspire, like podcasts that share stories. We're committed to innovation at the intersection of media development and empowerment. And so there's so much going on at the Los Angeles Tribune right now. I encourage you all to tap in and to tune in to what it is that we are doing. If you have a story that you'd like to get out there to the world, reach out to our teams, right? I think it's beautiful that we have a community of leaders that have different backgrounds. I think that's really important to highlight how much of a visionary that Mo is, because our leaders have different backgrounds, which means that everyone brings different views and different perspectives to the table. And when you have individuals that are multifaceted, that have lived different life experiences, they have different perspectives. And when you bring those different perspectives into a space that's all about creativity and innovation, beautiful growth happens because you get to learn from different industries. How do they do this? How can we bring this into what we're doing? And it goes back to reach one, teach one, and share, right? We're all about sharing. We're all about empowerment. And it's unique. It really is unique that a media company is dedicated to empowerment in a world where people in general try to take people down. We really want to uplift people because we know that, we're about impact. We're about long-term societal impact. That's the legacy that we are leaving. And that is at the core mission of what the Los Angeles Tribune is all about.
And so share this out, ladies and gentlemen. Let the word go out. And thank you also, Eric B. Flournoy, for visiting us today. And Randy, thank you. And everybody else, we love you. You can see us at the same bat channel next week on the Cynthia Manion Show, Wednesdays at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And I want to thank Mo Rock for sending us your way for your beautiful message. You were outstanding. We loved having you today. And that's just the tip of the iceberg. I wish I have more pages. I have more questions. I'll just have to do them at another time.
Next time.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you so much for having me. You are such a delight. Thank you so much. I love your bright light and energy. It's remarkable.
Thank you, Alisha. You are lovely. I'll meet you in the green room.
Okay.
And thank you, everyone, for joining. Share it out. Tell your people about the Los Angeles Tribune. And you know what? Every day what you do matters. So make good choices. Be kind. Hold the door open for somebody.
Yes. Thank you, everyone. Have a beautiful day.
And add those emails to your bottom of your list. The podcast, this, that, the book you wrote. Yes. You just saw Alisha. Come on. Let's go. Love you. Bye.
See you.